Behind every compelling brand is a well-crafted brand brief, the compass that guides marketers in shaping the essence of a company's identity. But ever so often, understanding what the brief says can prove to be quite the challenge. Let's take a deep dive into another insightful session with Kirti Sharad, VP of Strategic Planning at Havas Group India, who lets you in on the fundamentals of decoding a brand brief so you never have to find yourself in a pickle. This video is a part of a series where we cover more aspects of brand planning and strategy. So to explore this topic in depth, do check the other videos in this series. Link below.
Today we are going to talk about decoding a brief. And what is a creative brief? How do you decode the client brief? How is it different? What is the need for a brief? Very simply, we're going to talk about decoding the brand brief today. We're going to do the first 3 sections. Understand what the creative brief is, what are the 7 tenets for it, and then the elements of creative brief. So a casual chit chat does not always lead to great work. I've had so many of my clients, client briefs. Let's suppose I bump into them at a coffee shop, or if it's the same campus our offices are in. So many times we bump into each other and they're like, अरे एक नया प्रोडक्ट आ रहा है उस पे एक ब्रीफ है यार कुछ आइडियाज चाहिए. That is not a creative brief. A hallway conversation is not a creative brief. You need to write your creative brief. You can't be lazy about it. Why is it important? It's important because it is what spinach to Popeye was. It is the lifeblood of your campaign. It is the first document that you need to create before you start sprouting ideas or doing any actual work. It's literally the spinach to Popeye. It is literally what if the spinach is the creative brief, Popeye is your creative team, and so on and so forth. And it definitely helps you to avoid the beginning of a horror story. Like I said, if you don't have a brief in place, Anshu rightly said, there is no clarity, there is no direction, there is no sense of what are you working towards. Without it, you will be suffocated by last minute changes, miscommunication, a lack of alignment of objectives. And that sounds like a horror story. And I hate horror stories. I don't watch horror movies also for that matter. You don't want this to happen to you. So what are the 7 tenets? What it is and what it is not? How do you go about understanding the creative brief? Now that you understood what the need is for the creative brief, what is it all about? One, it's not a novel. If you remember the scene from Friends, about 18 pages front and back, the letter that Rachel wrote, it is not that. It is not a novel. It's easy to think that the longer, the more jam-packed the brief it is, better. You want to put all kinds of massive database of information into it and give everything that you know. But as a planner, your job is literally curation. Your job is filtration. You need to put in the creative brief only those things, only those sentences, those words, those thoughts, which will help the creative build it and take a leap from. Excess information, अच्छा ये भी अच्छा होगा, ये भी अच्छा होगा, this is also good to know. No. Put the information, a document that aligns your vision with the information to keep the campaign on track. Anything extra, anything frilly, you don't need. Hence, it's not a novel. You have to be precise. And, well, brief needs to be brief, short, sweet, and to the point. Pardon the picture on this one. I just had to make the point very visually talking. Second, it's not the client brief. So when the client brief comes in, it gets translated into a creative brief by a set of planners, by the planners. And what do I mean by that? It's essentially, it's a well-informed, so this is what a client brief generally has. It has a business goal. Let's say we want to grow the market share by X percentage. There's a business problem saying we are stagnated by current buyers, regular buyers only. Nobody new is buying us. Or let's say it is a problem wherein a younger TG is not buying into me as a brand. That could be a business problem. Target audience, to define the target audience, saying I'm a brand that has been bought by old people. I want to now go to younger cohorts. So you say target audience, who you're looking at. There's a budget that the client defined. There's a timing or a timeline that is defined in the client brief. Mostly these are the larger things that are there in the client brief. So creative brief is essentially will have a target audience, but this will be more about psychographics. This will be defined by, so it will have a target audience which is defined not just by demographics, not just saying younger cohorts, but um, let's say Gen Z who is impatient, for the campaign of Airtel, which was about them for the impatient generation, which they came up with when they were launching 5G or 4G, I remember. Then there's a human problem which we spoke of. It's not a business problem. This a business problem needs to be looked at from a human problem angle. That what is the human problem behind this business problem? Human goal, human action. What do you want your consumers to take as an action? What is the goal that you're achieving, trying to achieve? What is the communication objective here? And then the single mind proposition of how will you deliver it. So get to who buys is the most global, most universally used model of a creative brief. But every agency, like I said in the last session as well, every agency has very different modules of their own. Once you are onto a agency, then you will definitely understand that. Also, it's not a business problem. We just spoke about this. It's not a business problem. It is the human problem behind the business problem. And I'll tell you what I mean by this. I'll quickly show you a film, an ad which answers this or which helps you understand this a little better.
Government removed the territory's autonomy, restricted people's movements, and blocked the internet.
जो भी हमारा कम्युनिकेशन हमारे घर में था या जम्मू कश्मीर में जो भी लोग रहते हैं उनके साथ था, वो बिल्कुल डिस्कनेक्ट हो गया।
फोन करा था।
I live in America, but I was born in Kashmir. All my cousins still live in that state. When this lockdown happened, we all got very panicked. We tried everything, but we cannot get the message in or out.
While Kashmir remained disconnected, one thing retained its connection with the rest of India: apples. As Kashmir's biggest export, over 2.2 million tons of apples reached every corner of the country. An opportunity was spotted. Presenting the upGrad.
Then, through Radio Zindagi on-ground network, we were able to mobilize the local community, local apple farmers and packers to get the people's message out.
Volunteers went door to door, collecting messages from Kashmiris to their families in India. They wrote their messages on stickers with the contact details of their loved ones. The stickers were pasted onto apples. Between November 20th and December 1st, over 40,000 applegrams left Kashmir. When encountered by strangers, the sticker on each applegram provided just enough information to reassure family members that their loved ones were doing fine. Where the apples reached, the messages did too.
So if Radio Zindagi only believed that the role was only to do one-to-many communication and the only business problem maybe they would have focused on was about getting more listenership, this idea would not have come to play. This is a human problem that happened, and Radio Zindagi actually had the tools to and ideas to solve a human problem at large, a social problem at large, in a time of crisis, in a time when the state was going through lack of communication. This is how you look beyond the business problem and see if there's a larger purpose for the brand to play a role in, to make it more of a part of the fabric of the culture that you live in, you thrive in. Next, fourth one was about the tenet was about the fact that it is not just observation, but it's a compelling insight. And I'll share a very interesting one. And of course, Nike work world over is celebrated, applauded, appreciated, studied in detail to understand the nuances of what they come up with. But this was a campaign that they did recently, and where they actually went all out and said, for once, don't do it. And what they meant by that was very interesting. They took a stand, a larger social stand against something which was happening in the society, which is still happening in the society in smaller or bigger numbers in different cultures, different societies. This was a campaign they launched when racism was really, I mean, of course, almost every other month there's so many cases of different cases, but this one they did, I think, at the cusp of when a lot of racism was coming to the surface, and it was happening at an everyday level by everyday people in parks, in social communities at a larger extent, and it was unbearable at that point. They have done campaigns like Dream Brazier, wherein they go beyond the product. They have a belief system about change. They have a belief system about getting things done and standing up for something that is wrong in the society, and they will voice out. Very few brands have done anything on racism for that matter, which is why it has to be a compelling insight. It just can't be an observation. And not mere USPs. We hear about USPs a lot. What is the key USP? And it has to be a functional brand. It's a functional focus has to come out. Features have to be spoken of. All that is great. USPs is unique selling propositions. For Dove, it used to be 1/4 milk made with 1/4 milk for the soap. But it has to be beyond that. It has to be the surprise in the propositions. There has to be a surprise. If Dove was only talking about 1/4 milk as their USP and did not really come up with real beauty, we wouldn't even be talking about Dove as a case study ever in our lives. That angle, that lens of opening up the minds of so many cultures to see what is wrong in the stereotypes that exist is so beautiful. And talking of Dove, they've recently done a campaign which is the cost of beauty, which is another interesting way of challenging the beauty stereotype.
And let's sit down and I will read you a book.
You are so beautiful to me.
Good job, Mary.
You are so beautiful.
Hello, we're Mary and Addie's comedy show.
To me. Can't you see, dear Mary? Everything I hoped for. You're everything I need. You are so beautiful to me. You are so beautiful.
You want a small waist this summer when your favorite product is here. Alright, that's it.
To me. Can't you see? Everything I hoped for. You're everything I need.
Get yourself a tape measure. Thigh gaps are in.
You are so beautiful to me. You are so beautiful to me. Can't you see? You're everything I hope for, everything I need. You are so beautiful to me. Can't you see?
So if that was only focused about selling products, focused only on their business objective and not the human problem behind the business problem, not the human action behind the target audience, these kinds of movements, this level of stereotype busting wouldn't have happened. And what Dove really beautifully does is they don't just do it only for a campaign, only for awards, only for Cannes and so on and so forth. They do a full-fledged activation around it. They will have helplines. They will connect with the NGOs. They will go all out to ensure that what they're fighting against is a fight that everybody participates in, everybody has access to participate in, and it's simpler. So that's what Dove is really beautiful in terms of doing it.
If you have made it to this point in the video, do subscribe for more such content and click on the link below to check out more of our courses. We offer an array of programs from top universities in India as well as abroad. Alright, now let's get back to the lesson.
6, not to just create awareness. A lot of brands will come to you as a planner, say, you know what, nobody knows my brand, awareness is an issue. But more likely or not, most of the time, there is a scope for you to figure out if this brief could lead to behavioral change. We need to start thinking that the era we live in today, is there a place where we can bring about behavioral change? Given the data we have, given the smaller actions that people can take today, everybody don't have, to get people to do something, you don't have to do something big. Something small also works. This is a beautiful piece of work that Whisper does. It has been at it for a very long time, and they have been winning awards. At a separate story, but what the cause is far bigger. From Touch the Pickle to the Missing Chapter, Whisper has literally created a movement in India wherein women, girls, even in school, talk very openly about periods, menstruation. The education about it is important. And it makes it even more compelling and insight to tackle a social problem. Behavioral change doesn't always mean the person who's consuming it needs to change. Behavioral change could also mean how the society at large, how others are looking at it could change. So how others could look at it could change. For example, when you create an environment, for example, moms or elders or women beyond 45, 50 who have grown up in a different era and looking at periods, menstruation in a very different way, to opening their minds towards their daughters. And this is about much smaller towns. This is about tier 2, tier 3 cities wherein the stigma is huge. So very interesting piece of work. If you can get your hands on looking at everything they've done on this, would be fabulous. But do look at it, the Missing Chapter, take a note of it, Google it once the class is over.
Jignesh.
Present, miss.
Purvi. Purvi.
Absent, miss. Tim tima tim tim tim, hattima tim tim tim. Tara bole, tim tima tim tim tim. Tim tima tim, tima tim tim tima tim tim tim. Dadari ghura ghuroshin, dadari ghura ghuroshin, dada बेटा पूर्वी तो बीमार है। आंटी हम तो आपसे मिलने आए हैं। पीरियड्स 10 से 12 साल की उम्र में शुरू हो जाती हैं। ये हर महीने होती है जब यूट्रस बेबी को सहारा देने के लिए लाइनिंग बनाती है। बेबी ना हो तो ये लाइनिंग खून के रूप में योनि से बाहर निकल जाती है। पीरियड्स कोई बीमारी नहीं, शर्मिंदा होने की चीज नहीं, ये कोई श्राप नहीं। इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि आप मरने वाले हो। पीरियड्स तो एक हेल्दी और स्ट्रॉन्ग वुमेन बनने की निशानी है। आंटी, पैड यूज करने से हम सब कुछ कर सकते हैं और जो लड़कियां ये नहीं जानती है वो हर महीने 4-4 दिन के लिए स्कूल नहीं जाती है और धीरे धीरे उनका स्कूल ही छूट जाता है। आंटी, पूर्वी वापस आएगी ना?
विस्पर ने 10 करोड़ स्कूल गर्ल्स और मॉम्स को पीरियड एजुकेशन और फ्री पैड्स दिए हैं। With every pack of Whisper Ultra you buy, you too can help us keep a girl in school.
They have done this in vernacular. They have done Wali paintings across villages, across smaller towns, doing the missing chapter as a explanation for smaller towns. They've done activations around it. Look up the case study. You will be wowed by to the extent they've gone to actually support that social cause. Number 7, it's not just a marketing objective. It's not, like I said, it's not just about awareness. It's not just about creating consideration, driving preference, but majorly it is going beyond the marketing objective and translate into communications objective, and try to understand how can communication drive the marketing objective. How can communication build or deliver what the marketing objective is asking for? If the marketing objective is to create an imagery, drive a shift in the imagery, how can communication objective drive that, build that, and so on and so forth. There's an interesting case of Surf Excel. I worked with Surf Excel myself as a brand manager, and it's very interesting to know how it is different globally and in India. Globally, daag achhe hain, essentially dirt is good, and dirt is good globally just means for moms that if my child is learning a value, it is about if my child is learning something, a skill set, it's okay if he or she is getting dirty. But Indian moms want a little bit more than skill sets. They know their kids are okay to learn the skills, that's fine. It's about the sanskar, it's about the values that they learn that are important to me. If they are taking care of the sister, if my child is respecting the elders, bonding with his grandparents or her grandparents, saving a puppy, having that empathy, all the sanskar, all the values I want my child to have, if my child starts showcasing that in their behavior, that is where the sense of pride comes from. Then I can say Dagachi. This is one example of it. They did this last year for Holi. They have amazing communication. Whenever they build the communication, they have thematic communication, functional communication. This is more of a thematic for topical.
ताई जी, चलो ना हमारे साथ होली खेलने।
छोटी, अब हमारी उम्र थोड़े है खेलने की कोई। ना, तुम लोग खेलो खेलो। आओ ना खोले हर ताले रंगों से, आओ ना खोले हर ताले रंगों से, रोको न टोको न खुद को, कैसे रोकते हो अपने मन को, कैसे रोकते हो।
ताई जी, ये छोटी तो खेल सकती है ना?
अब हिचक ने भी कर ली हमसे बट्टी, अब से बचपन को नो छुट्टी, बचपन को नो छुट्टी।
जो रंग बचपन लौटाए वो रंग अच्छे हैं, सर्फ एक्सेल दाग अच्छे हैं।
So just roughly briefing the 7 tenets. It's not a novel. A brief is brief. It's short, sweet, and simple. It's not a client brief. It is a well-informed consumer POV that inspires the creative. It's not a business problem. It's about the human problem behind the business problem. It's not just an observation. There is a compelling insight there. It is not just a USP. It's a surprising proposition. How do you bring alive the story in a surprising way? It's not just about creating awareness. It's about leading to behavioral change. It's about doing something larger than just the obvious. It's not just a marketing objective. It is the marketing objective translated into a communication objective, both talking to each other. So elements of the creative brief very quickly. So get as your target audience. Get who is the human problem. 2 is a human action. And buy is a single-minded proposition, which is a mix of insights and RTV. I'll quickly just take you through all these 4 individually, and then we'll talk a little bit about it. Okay. So when you say get, okay, who is the get? You define the group of individuals we need to engage with to achieve our goal. So audience is essentially what is the attributes that bonds this group together. For example, if I have to do a headphone brand, okay, let's suppose JBL wireless headphones. I would not talk only to music lovers. I would specifically talk to music lovers who enjoy music on the go. So there's a little sharpening of who the TG is. You're not talking to all music lovers. There are music people who are old and who are just hearing music on a radio or on the phone for that matter, right? But as a wireless headphone which has this bass and this music in a different way, you experience music in a different way. You want to talk to people on the go where you become more relevant to them. So that is a target audience. It's all about the audience. Now this is an interesting one. Apple for the first time started talking to Gen Z last year, if I remember this right, early last year. And they changed the way they speak. They used to do very minimalistic kind of conversation. You must have seen Apple communication before, right? Very minimalistic, very product-centric, very to the point. This one was dramatized. This one was exaggeration, which is not something that Apple does. I'm just going to show it to you. Have fun watching it.
The next sale is a digital treasure trove charming Ellie's private data.
What?
Lot number 1, her emails. The one she's opened and read, wonderfully personal. Let's start at 240, 260, 280. Sold. Lot number 2, Ellie's drugstore purchases. Voila! Priceless data. Do I hear 480? 500. Sold. Her location data. It's not creepy, it's commerce. Do I hear 600, 620, 640, 660? Sold.
Nana?
All her contacts, even sweet Nana. Sold at 740. Her recent transactions. Her browsing history. Her late-night texting habit. Sold. And now the one you've all been waiting for, and I can promise you won't be disappointed.
Interesting. We spoke about privacy, right? That something, human problem is something which is currently stopping the brand from achieving its goal. It is stopping our TG from achieving what we want them to achieve, achieving whatever they want to achieve as well in life. For example, millennials have always been extremely struggling with their finances. What is stopping them from not handling their finances? So, human problem. We spoke of human problem. Now, the two, which is a human action. What do you want them to do? What do you want the consumers to think, feel, and do to reach our goal? Our goal could be that we want them to have a behavioral change towards beauty standards. We want moms to realize that their daughter's beauty is that social media is hampering the self-image that the daughter is having about herself. That's Dove. So what do we want the consumers to think, feel, do to reach the goal, and how do they realize it? This is a very interesting example. Havas did this globally. It's a winning campaign as well. I'll just quickly show it to you.
Pele won 3 World Cups. The only player in history to reach that mark. Athlete of the 20th century. In 1969, he scored his 1,000th goal, wearing Puma boots, becoming the king of football. But young ones didn't see him playing and have different idols. Puma decided to pay tribute to the 50th anniversary of Pele's 1,000th goal with another 1,000 goals. This time on a different field. Online. King Pele. We invited everyone to help us score 1,000 goals with Pele's avatar in a single day. Exactly 50 years after Pele scored his 1,000th goal in the fields. All they had to do was score a goal with the King's avatar and post it online with the hashtag #eKingPele. Even Pele himself scored a goal.
Também quero fazer meu gol.
In only 6 hours, we already had more than 1,000 goals shared online. We made the news in various media outlets around the world.
E para os mais jovens que não tiveram o privilégio de ver o rei brilhando,
estão tendo a oportunidade de aprender pouco através de algo que eles
The king of football won over the new generation. The 1,000th goal was scored by a 10-year-old boy. And just like the Puma boots from the 1,000th goal, the boy's game controller also became a trophy in the same museum. King Pele. 1,000 goals, again, now in video games.
So they went beyond the obvious. They did not just, the action here was give a tribute to a legend in a digital world and bring supporters of the game to play it for him and celebrate his legacy that he has. And a sense of community, a sense of we all are doing it together, a sense of even individual, the guy who did the 1,000th goal, his getting it, get the reward or recognition in the same museum where his shoes are. Puma really went beyond just the product here, just beyond what they actually are known to do, which is celebrating of legends is what they're doing here, which is in a very interesting community, larger cause kind of a way, in a happy larger cause kind of a way. This is my favorite. So the single-minded proposition, which is about insight plus RTB, the one message that we want to tell our audience, it's not, remember when we started this conversation, we said the brief is brief. It's never a novel. It's never 18 pages love letter back and forth that Rachel wrote. It is exactly sweet, simple, short. We have to focus on being precise. There has to be one message we want to tell our audience, not multiple. How does the brand product help use this insight to get around the problem? The information that changes how our target audience looks at the problem product category. What could we tell them that would get them to look at the problem in a new light? Cement brands have been doing durability as a core function or RTB or benefit for the longest time. So Ambuja did this very interestingly with Khali, and I don't want to. I'll talk about it after I show it.
घर एक स्वर्ग होता है, जैसे चाहे रो जियो, लेकिन मेरे साथ ऐसा नहीं था।
बड़ा प्यारा बेटा है खली, बस कभी कभी अपनी ही ताकत नहीं समझ पाता।
जिस ताकत ने मेरे को दुनिया भर में मान सम्मान दिलाया, वही ताकत मेरी प्रॉब्लम बन गई। कभी सोचता था मैं अगर मैं औरों की तरह होता, पर मेरी माँ कहती थी नहीं बेटे, तू स्पेशल है। और ऐसा ही चलता रहा। अपने आप को मैं हेल्पलेस फील करता था। फिर एक दिन मौसी ने बताया अंबुजा सीमेंट से घर बना लो। उसके बाद पता चला घर पे रहने का मजा है।
It's a very simple, funny, light-hearted kind of a conversation. This has been a case study for a lot of brands too. See, cement is a very commoditized category. To bring in a sense of light-heartedness is difficult in this category. But Ambuja managed to do it with this particular case. Some errors which generally happen when you're writing get who to buy. I'll just quickly talk about 6 of them which generally happen. So the goal, you will have a goal, define, do not have too many goals, have one goal. Make your communication objectives clear and inspiring. Clear because clarity is something that will help you keep driving the direction you want to take the communication towards. Inspiring because it helps creative to take a leap from. If it's not inspiring, it's not going to take, creative can't take a leap from it. Target audience, confusing the end user with target audience is not, that is an error. So what I mean by that, the end user, for example, for Surf Excel is the mother. Okay, she is going to use the product, but I'm also showing the kids in it. I'm talking to her via the kids. So the target audience is for the advertising, end user is for the sales part of it. So don't confuse the two. Be clear who you want to talk to. Target audience described too broad or unclear. Do not be too broad or unclear about a target audience. Be very specific who you want to talk to and why. When you define the problem, addressing purely the business problem is not enough. You need to uncover the human problem. We spoke about this. Then only it will become inspiring for the creative. Then only it will become an inspiring brief for anybody to look at and say, okay, this is interesting. Insight, if you don't know the difference between observation and insight, then there is an error there. You need to get your insight right. You need to be precise about it. You need to ask those 5 whys to an observation, or 3 whys or 4 whys. Be a nagging child who's asking those questions and arrive at the insight. Derive the insights from data, derive the insights based on consumer thinking, consumer research, so on and so forth. Single-minded proposition. Make your single-minded proposition clear, inspiring, truly single-minded. A lot of planners I've seen, the juniors, in their initial days, I've also done this. In the lieu of making it inspiring, you end up writing 5 things you want to say. Single-minded means single-minded. So if your proposition contains the word and or a comma, it's an indication you're not going towards single-mindedness. So be very hard on yourself about this. And the action, if it's not clearly defined what the consumer needs to think or do, then that's an error over there. Be very clear. This is my consumer. This is the human problem. This is the human action. And this is how the human action and the human problem will be addressed via the single-minded proposition, which has an insight and which has an RTB. Be very clear about these 4 things and you will be home.
We hope you found this video helpful. If you did, don't forget to drop this video a like and share it with your friends and colleagues. And if you want to learn more and explore more such topics, head to the link below and gain access to more marketing lessons. And subscribe to this channel. Until next time.